Welcome back, Bill. Did you finish your text?
I did. I need some love now because I was responding to Maria's query, and you gave me grief for not paying attention. And
yeah, I tend to do that when the show starts and the co-host isn't paying attention.
Yeah, and
Maria's
right. I hate to admit that Maria's right.
Welcome back, Maria.
Thank you. I like being right every now and again. It doesn't happen all that often.
You're right.
Stop.
The telephone. Can we get back to the show here?
Yeah, we'll get back to it. We're not going to fight anymore.
Let me know if you're done. Bill Ridenour, delegate from the 100th. He joins us via telephone. Bill, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us.
Morning. How are you all doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm not really sure what's going on with Bill and Maria over here. There's another agenda they're pursuing, but we're going to try to straighten them out here.
Okay. Well, good luck with that.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Well,
we're trying here.
I'm trying to rouse the troops here. I'm not being very successful. I want to ask you about the human trafficking bill that you sponsored in the legislature, Bill. And Mike Hornby talked about it a few times. And maybe you could give us an idea of what it's about and what it will do.
Well, it really is two different bills that we put together into one. Delegate Brandon Steele, who's a fantastic lawyer, and I don't say that lightly because I'm, like many people, I'm not a fan of lawyers, but he's terrific. And we have some very good lawyers within our Senate and our House. He had a bill relative to increasing penalties for human trafficking, for sex, for slave labor, et cetera. So we combined that bill into a bill that I had to prevent smuggling of illegal aliens into West Virginia. There's been a couple of other bills. There's a Tennessee bill, and I don't remember the number right offhand, that I'm pretty sure passed and has been signed. I don't know if the governor there has signed it or not, but it's designed to do something similar, which is prevent human traffickers bringing individuals into or through West Virginia so that they can be used for either forced labor or other types of activities. And that's both a combination of Brandon Steele's bill and my bill. And that's pretty much it. It was, at the time, it was probably unique. I think more and more states are looking at trying to do something very similar to that.
Very good. And tell me about...
I've had this bill for this is the third year I've put this bill in.
Yeah.
We refined it in our Judiciary Committee, and I think they did a much better job than the original drafts that I had, and that's part of our committee process. We take bills that are good and I think make them much better on routinely. That's just part of our committee process, is to make bills, look at them from various perspectives and turn them into a better bill. We got this through without any real issues in Judiciary, and then it sailed through in the House. But it got held up on the Senate side for some reason, and I'm going to be pushing this again next year.
Yeah, so that was my question for you, is to talk about the struggles of getting this bill passed. Any idea what the holdup is on the Senate side, Bill?
There were just some things going on the Senate side that I didn't understand with the Senate Judiciary Committee. I'm a friend of Mike Stewart's, and I pushed him multiple times on this bill and another bill, and that was on the property being owned by foreign adversaries. And he understood and really liked the property bill. He wasn't as sure about the human trafficking bill, but he indicated he was going to run it, and then we couldn't get him to run it, and I wasn't sure why. And eventually I'm going to talk to him about that, because I was hoping up to the last couple of days that he was actually going to run it.
Yeah, it would seem to be...
It was sailed through. It would have been no problem.
Yeah, because it seems to me like nobody would be in favor of human trafficking. I mean, I'm not...
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into writing a bill in terms of what specifics are included, but in general, right?
Yep, and this had been refined. I think it was going to be, frankly, somewhat groundbreaking around the country, but it is what it is. Just got to move on and see if we can try and do something for next year.
Talk to me about 3295 troops to teachers, because we were talking with some folks earlier this morning that said that they had another meeting on that coming up later today. Tell me about that.
Well, actually, Patrick Morrissey's going to be signing that this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to go to it, but it ended up with a little bit of an issue yesterday in terms of a kidney stone, so
oh my,
kind of working my way through that, and it's been, as you would expect, painful.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it is what it is. Again, I mean, it'll be okay. That bill I've worked on, and I got it through our education committee last year, or 2 years ago, and I didn't run it last year because there were so many other bills that were being run. This year, I felt, there's a really good chance to get it done, and I put it in. And on the Senate side, there were so many senators that liked it; they wanted to put in basically the same bill to make sure that it got through. And House Education talked to me, and the committee chairman, Joe Ellington, and said, "Hey, do you mind if we have this run through the Senate side and we'll focus on other things here?" And I'm fine with that. I don't care whether or not I get my name on a bill or not. That's the mission's what's important. Credit's not.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that through. There's some tweaks I'd like to make to it, and I'm going to be talking with Senator Ryan Weld, and Senator Tom Willis on that, and see if we can maybe make a couple tweaks on that for the future.
And what will it do?
Well, there's a couple of different things that it's doing. The number one thing is that it is developing a Troops to Teachers program. There used to be, and I think there's an effort to regenerate it at the federal level, a Troops to Teachers program in terms of trying to recruit those personnel who are leaving the service or who have left the service into a teaching career. And that's the whole genesis of the program. In part, it's because when I left the Marine Corps, when I was retired out of the Marine Corps, I was looking for a job, and I had thought about being a teacher. And I tried to, examine, what it would take for me to become a teacher, and found out that, frankly, it was going to take a lot of study. And I had 3 kids. It was going to basically take a huge chunk out of my income at the time just to do the study necessary to become a teacher. So I decided against that career and ended up going into the naval intelligence field and was a defense intelligence officer afterwards. But it was kind of frustrating because it's like, one, I couldn't find any real information about how we would do it. I had heard about Troops to Teachers from prior to my retirement, but there was nothing really available. And I'm like, doesn't make sense. I mean, we've got individuals who are leaving the service with the leadership skills, the training skills, the discipline, the moral character that you really want to have in teachers. Yet there's no real significant recruitment effort to get those individuals who would be an absolute boon to our schools into the teaching profession, where they can really have an influence over our kids. And I remember when I was growing up in the late 60s, early 70s, I had a number of teachers that were veterans from the Korean War, from Vietnam, and those individuals were really a significant influence. None of them were advocating war or anything. They were there instilling discipline. My swim coach was a Vietnam veteran, Marine Corps, and he was just a terrific leader, pushed me extremely hard, both in my German courses and in my history course. And as a swim coach, he was very hard, but he ended up instilling a tremendous amount of discipline in me, and both from a physical and from a mental capacity. And I felt that that's what we want to try and have with a lot of our kids today, is they're not seeing as much of that, and they really should have the opportunity to have those types of individuals enter their lives through, the educational system, through our schools, so that they can, in fact, be a positive influence on them.
Bill?
Yeah. Good morning, Bill. Bill, there's been some criticism of the last session, both on the process of how it was done. There were changes in the process in the House, also the nature of a lot of the bills, especially coming out of the Senate. And I'm sure you, like everybody else, saw some good things and some bad things. What was your biggest disappointment out of last session?
Well, I mean, it'd be related to some of the bills that weren't passed. As far as the process goes, the process for the House was changed. I'm still not sure exactly how I feel about the new process. It seemed to slow some things down. We had, just to explain it to folks, we had a subcommittee and then the major committee. And the subcommittees would see bills first. They would go through an initial stage where they were receiving public comment, receiving information about the bill. The next meeting of the committee, they would then consider the bill and vote on it. Then it would go to the full committee, and we'd go through the same process of public hearings, public input, getting more explanation about the bill. Then wait another day and then do the actual bill, which that took quite a bit of time, and I'm not sure that all of that was necessary. 4 days to run through a bill, whereas previous years we had done a bill in 1 day. I'm not sure 1 day is enough time. I'm not sure 4 days is not too much time if you're going to try and actually process bills. Some of the bills that I was very disappointed in not getting through were the certificate of need. That was very disappointing because that obviously directly impacts health care for West Virginia and for, in particular, the folks up here. I mean, we have this antiquated, archaic certificate of need system wherein a healthcare provider or several other industries, waste management is one of them, where the company that has the certificate of need can dictate whether or not a competitor comes into the area. So that's a monopoly. That's kind of the antithesis of a free market system. We had hoped we were going to get that through. We thought we had a chance, but there are just enough delegates in particular that believe that if they get rid of it, then rural health care will be severely impacted. I disagree. I think, frankly, that the market will, in fact, ensure that those areas receive actually better care and more care, not just, having one potential provider in an area who, dictates whether or not others can come in. In our area here, I've got people who want to try and open services in Jefferson County, in particular a nurse practitioner, a couple that do licensed nurse practitioning, and they can't come here because the certificate of need precludes them from coming here. It would be a great service for our folks here in Jefferson County. So that's something that we're going to fight again in the next session. The vaccine mandate was another major disappointment. I'm pleased that Governor Morrissey's going to continue with his efforts to allow religious exemptions for those families that has some issues with vaccines being mandated for school kids, and frankly, it's one of those issues where it's pushing people out of our state. We're continuing to lose families who are not willing to allow their kids to be injected with all kinds of vaccines. We're an absolute outlier. We're one among 5 states in the country that doesn't allow for any kind of exemptions. So it ends up pushing kids out of their school system because some families have chosen to homeschool based on the lack of any kind of potential exemption, medical or religious. And our medical exemption was not a good system at this point. We're, like I said, losing folks out of the state who just are unwilling to do the types of vaccines. And I have some major issues with the way that we're looking at vaccines. I mean, we have tens of thousands of people in West Virginia, adults and others, who have not been vaccinated. We haven't had massive outbreaks of diseases from those individuals who are not vaccinated, and we get probably hundreds of thousands of visitors into West Virginia who have not had many of these vaccines, and we haven't had the outbreaks. So, and you know, the perception that, well, if people are unvaccinated, then the vaccinated will get sick. Well, that doesn't make any sense. If you're vaccinated, then you should be generally able to prevent those types of diseases. So those were the 2 biggest disappointments.
So Delegate Ridenour, is it your sense that either of those will be, that you will be called back for a special session for either of those matters, or anything else in particular that you know of?
I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't talked to Governor Morrissey. I'm not sure if he's planning on bringing us back for either one of those. I would say the certificate of need is the more likely of the 2. The governor has an executive order on the vaccines, and that will be in effect, at least I think, well, certainly will be in effect through the next session. So I think that we can work on that issue in our next session. Whether or not he brings us in for the certificate of need, I'm not sure. I know he was going to try to do what he could to loosen up the restrictions so we actually can get better health care throughout the state. But it's a little more problematic. He can't issue an executive order to do anything about, do much relative to certificate of need.
You mentioned vaccination. He had tried. He has time to work on it for next year. But there's 2 conflicting directives to the schools. One's by executive order signed this last month or so, and then a current law that would preclude vaccinations for exemptions rather. Which of these 2 is going to play out in court? Do you have a sense which of these 2 will prevail?
No, I'm not sure. That's up to the court system, yes. And predicting what our courts will do sometimes is problematic, although we're obviously better, I think, in the state side relative to decisions than we are on the federal side.
Bill, just about 2 minutes left here. In regards to homestead exemptions, I know you were part of a bill trying to increase homestead exemption rates, and you were in Jefferson County, Berkeley County as well, high cost of living areas where the cost of housing has made it an issue for seniors, especially to try to stay in their homes. Do you foresee any success in the future in getting the homestead exemption raised for high cost of living counties?
Yeah, I think we will have, and I don't. That's why my bill is focused on trying to make it a percentage of the value of the home as opposed to a fixed amount. There were several that were trying to raise it, I think, to $40,000 from $20,000. Mine was to make it 50% of the property value, because that would impact all throughout the state, and it would be of greater value for some areas where they have medium value properties, and would also allow folks in lower value property areas down south, in particular Mingo, Wayne County, where you may have a home for $40,000. Well, 50% still gives them $20,000 off, which is the current exemption. Up here, obviously, in the Jefferson, Berkeley, Eastern Panhandle area, you're talking some significant savings for our seniors, and I think that's going to happen. I talked with Senator Jason Barrett. We had a town hall recently where we went over that. He's pretty confident we're going to get something through, and I'm confident that Governor Morrissey wants something along that line. So we're going to work on that, and I think we're going to try and do some other things relative to property taxes coming up in the future.
Very good. Bill, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today. I know you're playing hurt there with the kidney stone, so I appreciate you getting this one out, sir.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Thank you very much, Robin, and folks, I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bill.
for your service to our country, sir.
Have a great day.
You too. Delegate Bill Ridenour to the 100th. We had Pat McGeehan from the 1st yesterday, so we covered the entire House of Delegates in 24 hours.